Firstly, thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming along and giving your time this morning. Before jumping into the specifics of the actual programme, I wanted to just kind of reiterate, I suppose, some of the context stuff which has shaped our thinking in terms of the approach that we've adopted. And so, as we've sat back over the last number of months monitoring what's going on around this whole Brexit phenomenon, I suppose one of the things that has struck us is that actually it's very much a fog. For all of the commentary and all of the speculation, the reality is there's no sense of what the final negotiated solution looks like, no sense, therefore, of what that's going or how that's going to impact the broader Irish economy and more specifically tourism. But the one thing that has become clear, it seems to us, over the first 6 or 7 months of this year, is the fog has lifted when it pertains to the individual firm. We are clear at this point in time, I think, about how all of this stuff is coming out of the operational wash for our clients around the country. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because that's where we're starting here, and Paul talked about it. We want to deal with the knowns, okay? And what do we know? Okay, we know that we're losing business, and we're losing business right around the country and across every sector. We know that the currency fluctuation has made us less competitive, and we know from chatting to businesses that A, they're struggling both with GB visitors but also Northern Ireland visitors, and they're struggling in terms of holding on to contracts with price-sensitive GB business. We equally know that actually the saving grace this year has been a very strong US performance, but again, currency has gone the wrong way of late, etc. So I don't think we can continue to expect the kind of levels of growth that we've been enjoying out of the US into the future. And last but not least, it's a double whammy of both Northern Ireland business and GB. I think border counties in particular are being hit hard. And so those are some of the knowns that we believe that we can now start to respond to. And as Paul alluded to, there's a whole range of other stuff out there actually which will have fundamental impacts on the industry. You know, we're an island nation, so things like impacts on aviation and so on and so forth are critical to us. But I think the approach we're going to adopt is to come at this in waves. As we get certainty, we'll flex the programme to make sure that we're continuing to support industry in the right way. So the framework we've adopted is very simple. Our start point here is what's happening at the level of the firm. What are the issues most immediately impacting our clients? What's the appropriate response that we need to deliver at the level of the firm? And what are the kind of impacts that we're trying to deliver for our clients? And in doing all of that, I suppose we set ourselves 3 broad design principles. It needs to be a holistic response. So at one level, we need to work at the level of the firm in terms of improving competence and capability. But equally, there's little point in doing that work if we then don't help businesses get to market, help them retain GB business, but also help them diversify. And to do that, we can't work in isolation from our colleagues in Tourism Ireland, from our colleagues in Tourism Northern Ireland, and from, I suppose, all of our industry partners around the country. So it has to be a holistic solution. It needs to be scalable. So we're coming at this in the 4th quarter of this year. As Paul said, we're going to hit 1,000 businesses directly between now and the end of the year. Others will be able to avail of supports through online services and webinars, etc. But as we hit full year 2018, we're going to scale it up and hit more businesses. And last but not least, going back to the issue about, this is a moving target. So whatever we design needs to be adaptable. And as we get new information and new moments of clarity going on, then we'll adapt the programme accordingly. First and foremost, working with the ITUA members here in Ireland, we have actually ran an exercise where we invited them to develop new itineraries that ourselves and Tourism Northern Ireland are part sponsoring. From our perspective, we're prepared to put some business development funds in to actually support this. And that's developed 7 new fresh itineraries that's looked at that kind of joint programming of Northern Ireland and the border counties. So again, looking to support those parts of the country which are feeling a little bit of the pinch at the moment. But most importantly, Paul alluded to capacity issues earlier. We're using that capacity and competitive rates to actually try and unlock business in that northern stretch of the country. We've put a new Wild Atlantic Way campaign in place, particularly focused on those counties to the north of the Wild Atlantic Way. So we have 22 industry, 7 courses, 7 golf courses, 15 hotels, working with a new online distribution platform. And that, we believe, in the next 12 months will deliver about 10,000 bed nights and about €1 million into the local economy in the northwest. From a market retention perspective, particularly within the context of GB and US, there's 100 million annually coming in through golf from GB and US. So those two marketplaces are critical to many counties on the margins up along the west coast and border counties, etc. So targeting golf buyers, corporate companies and high net worth individuals, we are really working there with all of those key B2B platforms to make sure that that 100 million is not taken for granted, that we keep pitching for it. And last but not least, we have invited the two largest GB coach operators to create new itineraries. Again, putting some business development behind that, and that will deliver about 2.5 million extra into border counties over the next 5 years. And last but not least, in terms of market diversification, from our perspective, we want to look at new markets, but also particular product sectors are aspects of the business where maybe we haven't had sharp enough focus historically. So, luxury market internationally is worth about 176 billion. But how focused Ireland is on it, and how appropriate our product is, and our sales and marketing strategies are, etc. Big piece of work on the way on that to make sure that we actually sharpen our potential in that territory. Adventure, again, is worth in the order of 260 billion globally. So again, from our perspective, gearing up Ireland Inc., particularly in the regional Ireland, to make sure that we get after that chunk of business. China, I think the last set of numbers I saw was for 2014 and 2015, over 100 million Chinese travelling internationally, huge market, and we have some good news coming through in terms of access, etc. So again, we're partnering with our colleagues in Tourism Ireland, Tourism Northern Ireland, and industry. We've undertaken an initial pilot looking at shaping the whole area of kind of cultural awareness and customer service opposite the Chinese marketplace, the culinary offering, and last but not least, the whole issue of market access. How to access those markets, how to package, and where to show up. So again, that's a program that we want to roll out now that the access is coming through. I think there's a real opportunity in that space. And in the same vein, I suppose Asia is now the biggest outbound market for golf. And so from our perspective, we've been working with about 15 outbound golf operators in the broader kind of Asia territory, again looking at improving access into the regions. And last but not least, I suppose from a marketing communications perspective, I want to talk a little bit about domestic marketing and I suppose the NI marketplace. To date, we've tended to reach the Northern Ireland consumer really by overspill from that activity which we've been doing in the Republic. But for 2018, we're going to allocate 10% of our total budget directly into the NI marketplace. And most importantly, when I come back to that notion about behaving in a holistic way, when we're in campaign, we want to mobilise industry behind it. So again, we want our industry partners getting their tactical offers out into the marketplace, particularly in border counties and elsewhere, making sure that we try and win back some of that business we've lost from an NI perspective. So that's the broad thrust of what we're about. As I say, it's very much wave one. From our perspective, we'll continue to be alert and change as we go forward. But as I said, in terms of my piece about capability, I'm very mindful from our perspective that we're not always in the front line, and so the people who have their finger on the pulse in terms of how the GB visitors reacting to us is always going to be the industry. We have put an advisory group in place, and I wanted to just thank those members because from our perspective, we wanted to try and make sure that we get, I suppose, a broad perspective from the industry. So